Ronell, we welcome now the Secretary of State of the great state of Mississippi, Michael Watson. Mr. Secretary, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Always a pleasure, and I know we were here to talk about elections, but I couldn't help but share this with you.
Yeah.
Working on a constituent issue with the Department of Treasury, so I emailed this morning for a heads up and kind of a, hey, give me what's going on. And I get an email back that says I'm out of the office for the foreseeable future because Senate Democrats voted to block the clean federal funding bill. How about that?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. There's some people that relish that opportunity to kind of stick your nose in that and say, yeah, because of the furloughs, I can't help you. Oh, my gosh. Well, you've heard us. We've been talking about it.
I have, yeah. It's unfortunate, but more importantly, look, elections. This is why they have consequences, and I think it's really important that we focus on that here in Mississippi. We've got elections coming up this fall, as you well know. Some that are scheduled, some that are special. So I wanted to make sure folks understood the voter registration deadline is Monday, October 6th. And there's some confusion here, Gerard, on regularly scheduled elections. So the folks that have school board elections, et cetera. Your clerk's office will be open on Saturday for voter registration, but if it's a special election, say, for instance, a Senate district up in DeSoto or Hattiesburg, they do not have to be open, and this is by statute. So I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that. Call your clerk's office if you're not sure to make sure you can get registered to vote. And then I think this is a note that I want to make sure people understood. We talk a lot about election integrity, making sure the process is clean and fair and just.
Sure.
Sometimes we forget to mention our efforts with voter registration, and I want to point that out. We've helped register over 382,000 people since we took office here.
Wow.
In Secretary of State's office. So roughly, north of 60,000 a year, and that's a big number. Really proud of that. So I wanted people to make sure they understood. Not only do we care about the integrity, but we also care about making sure folks know that it's easy to vote in Mississippi.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, of course, you and I have talked about this many times. We cherish the fact that we are able, as a state, to conduct elections and build a policy and law around elections as we see fit. We have some degree of policy that comes down from the federal government, but in general, we create the environment as we see fit, which is based on the people we elect into office, right, that create these laws, and then such as yourself that is involved in some of the policy and regulation and the execution of that law that comes out of the Capitol. We got to protect that, do we not, Mr. Secretary?
1,000%. And Gerard, you and I had this conversation a few years ago when someone else was in the White House, and we saw this big push for H.R. 2, and basically it was the federalized takeover of elections at the state level, which we all screamed and hollered about.
Yeah,
we be consistent with that. I don't care who's in the White House. The way the Constitution is written, the way the federal statutes are written, the way the state law is written, elections belong at the state level.
Yeah.
And, there are very few instances, you're right, where the federal government can have some interplay there without more congressional, work at the Capitol and passing different laws.
Yeah.
It is completely left to the states, in a sense, to run our elections here. And that's how we should, continue to move forward.
Yeah, and if you think about just the concept of federalism and states' rights and the 10th Amendment, I mean, this is core to it. This tops the list, does it not?
Absolutely. Again, we talk about this so much. If you can't control the elections process, I don't know what else is more important because depending on who gets elected and then some bad election laws pass and you can do things that you shouldn't be able to do, then you could change who's in office and change the policy. So it all comes down to elections.
Totally agree.
That's why we're really excited about the work we're doing.
Absolutely. So speaking of which, we got the legislative session, of course, 2026 kicks into gear right around the corner in a short 3 months here. What's on your radar in the Secretary of State's office that you'll be talking to the legislature about?
Yeah, I think one of the most important, Gerard, that we've been working on, we've got the funding. Thank the legislature for that, and we've got our contract in place. We're working on our new campaign finance reform package, and this is going to be a new system where folks can easily search and find out who's getting money from where, when they receive it, and you can kind of coordinate that with if a vote changes or if someone changes their position. Well, why? Well, let me go look at their campaign finance report,
sure.
just in case. And one of the things that's so important to us is making sure that all of this is really happening electronically. And so we want our legislators to pass some legislation forcing electronic filing of all of these forms. We've run into a speed bump with that across the street, and I understand some folks are slow to change. I get it. But when we talk about transparency, this is one of the most important things to me. Again, elections, when we talk about the importance of elections, the second piece of that is campaign finance. If we can have a good, clear picture of how people are who's supporting who, how they're spending their dollars, and having an easily searchable way to do that, it's really important. So we're going to continue pushing on that. We'll have a few more pieces of election reform. I don't know how public this is, but we've actually started looking at the entire election code. We'll be setting up a study group here in the next few months, and our hope is there's so many disjointed pieces of that code, Gerard, that we want to make it clean, easily readable, again, so the common everyday Mississippi citizen can understand what the law says about elections. And that all of it flows together. And so that's a big project, something that's not going to happen this year, but something we're pushing forward to the future.
You're so right. The key, as you well know, and I know you're a champion of, is transparency, that the public loses trust when it can't get access to information.
1,000% again. And we've done a lot with our Elections 101 team where we're trying to educate Mississippians on the process. Well, when you educate them on the process, following that, they need to be able to find the data and the information to continue to educate themselves. And part of that is campaign finance reform. Part of that is making sure that the laws are easily understandable. So, again, everyday Mississippians can read it and say, oh, okay, that makes sense. I get it. Well, hey, my county or my city is not doing the correct thing. I'm going to call them out on it. Ultimately, that's where we want to go, and I think that's really how you get good government.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Turn our attention for a minute here to the national scene. The shutdown of the government, other than this email you got back from someone in the Treasury Department, is that affecting your office and your operations in any way?
Absolutely not. And I think that's a funny thing. I saw something on X the other day. The lady said, the only thing I noticed about a government shutdown was I couldn't get in the restroom in federal parks.
Oh, man.
It goes to show, Gerard, we got to get back to the core functions, period.
Totally agree. We were talking about that. I don't know how you feel, but I was talking about an interview I caught with the Secretary of Labor this morning, and it just caused me to stop and think, why do we have a Department of Labor? Do we need that anymore? I mean, I can't tell you exactly what they do.
There's just so many things that we have no business doing, and it's just, hey, let me grow the circle a little bit and pull some more folks in. Oh, and by the way, let's do this too, and then government just gets this behemoth that it's become, and we've got to have more folks focused on core functions. Get out of the rest.
Totally agree, and hopefully we'll see some move in that direction. But at a minimum, we've been talking about it. When you have a shutdown like this, it does allow some analysis and some reflection and introspection, if you will, on what does this organization need to look like?
Man, I can't agree more. And Russ Vaught, just a fantastic individual, very smart.
Yes.
And I know that he's taken this opportunity to and from the outset, this wasn't something that surprised them. The White House was sending this to heads of agencies saying, hey, who are the folks that, gosh, maybe we don't need? And how do we trim down the fat? I think it's a good thing. It's going to be painful for some folks, and I get that. But at the same time, maybe something good comes out of this, and that's our hope.
Well, one of the problems is, and it's not unique to the federal government, it's just dang hard to terminate anybody that works in government. It
is. It is. And you got the weeping and gnashing and wailing, especially from the left.
Yeah.
And, it's just common sense. And I think when Americans who have to pay their bills and have to go to work in the private sector understand that my job's not promised, I better bring some value.
Yep.
Let's turn that back to the government. What value are you bringing to the people of Mississippi and the people of our country?
Totally agree. Secretary of State Michael Watson has been our guest on Middays. Appreciate the update on the voting and the election coming up, Mr. Secretary. We'll talk to you again soon.
Election Day on November 4th. Let's go vote.
Appreciate it. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.